Welcome, everyone. I'm joining you today from Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is beautiful Ann Arbor today. It's sunny and bright outside, and I hope that the weather's good wherever you're joining us from. We have people from many parts of the world on our session today, and that makes it especially valuable as we hear your questions and get your questions answered from your perspective wherever you are. So thank you for joining us. Today's session is the 11th one in our series on co-creating the future. We're in a turbulent time right now, and no matter what kind of time we're in, we always need to be thinking about what are we doing to create the future in which our organization and our people are competitive and win in the marketplace and have a great place to work. Today's session is with Professor Dave Ulrich on introducing and using an organizational guidance system. Of course, he's going to tell you much more about that. I will just tell you it is a very strategic and practical approach to determining which people and organizational investments are going to make your organization most successful and how to measure that impact and continue to improve. Just a couple housekeeping details before we get going. We're in a Zoom webinar and you're in listen only mode. We did disable the chat, but we have enabled the Q&A and we really value your questions. They're great for us. They're great for the other participants. So put your questions in and then upvote, if you will, by clicking on the thumbs up, the questions that you most want the answers to. And we will do our best to answer as many of the most popular questions as we can throughout the webinar. We won't wait until the end. We'll stop along the way and answer some questions. If you have any technical difficulties, try getting out and back in. Please know that we will be providing you the complete video of this webinar once we're finished within a couple of days, okay? At Michigan Ross, we're all about the creation of powerful ideas, evidence-based ideas based in research, using those ideas to create learning experiences that help develop purpose-driven leaders. In other words, help develop you as a purpose-driven leader so that you and your organization can have the most significant positive impact that's possible. We do this in a number of ways, everything from a short webinar to a multi-week course. And one other key point here is that unlike some organizations, we're here to equip you with the capability to do these things, not to do it ourselves. So powerful ideas, purpose-driven leaders, positive impact, and equipping you to be the very best leader you can be. So we're delighted to bring you this session today. And those are a few shots of some of the programs we've done around the world. And of course, today's program is a virtual one. We have many virtual programs we're offering at this point, including next month, another one of these complimentary webinars. It's at the same time during the day on December 9th, and it's on social emotional intelligence, more important now than ever, with our Professor Jeffrey Sanchez-Burks. And then we have a couple of other ongoing courses that you are welcome to sign up for. One is Becoming a Purpose-Driven Organization with Professor Bob Quinn. That starts on January 11th and goes through February 5th. It's a completely asynchronous course that requires only 10 minutes a day of your time. So it keeps you engaged on a regular basis for a short period of time and helps you become a purpose-driven leader and your organization also to become more focused on its purpose. Another excellent online learning opportunity is Maximizing Your Influence and Persuasion with Professor Maxim Sitch. This one includes a simulation. You're actually practicing your persuasion and influence skills and getting feedback on that from Professor Sitch. Today's session is, as I mentioned, with Professor Dave Ulrich, who is the chaired professor here at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. He's also, as you probably already know, ranked as the #1 management guru by Business Week. He's been profiled by Fast Company as one of the world's top 10 creative people in business, top 5 coach in Forbes, recognized on the Thinkers 50 Hall of Fame. I could go on and on. I will turn it over to Dave. I see he's flagging me to stop bragging about him, but I am proud to be able to call Dave a work colleague and friend. And I'm just delighted that he's giving us this time today on this really important topic. So Dave, go ahead.
I am just so grateful to join you today in this session, and I hope we can have a conversation. As Melanie suggested, put in the Q&A your questions, your comments. You come to some extent by faith. The topic is not your personal emotional well-being, it's your purpose. It's a guidance system. What are you talking about? So I appreciate your confidence in the ideas and hope that we can have a conversation about them. I'm welcoming you virtually to my office. I think in this world that we live in, we feel distance, and I hope we can see you in person in Ann Arbor in some of our courses. But in the interim, it's nice to see and peek into people's offices. So welcome to my office where I live in the United States in Utah. And let's get going. I'm going to cover a lot of material. I don't apologize for that. One of the things that I hope you'll see from our work at Michigan, and we have people like Bob Quinn and Professor Sanchez-Burks and Jane Dutton, we do research. We do data, we do theory, so that experience is not an isolated event. It's not, as Melanie described this morning, Pollyanna and Pandy Mandy. That was Melanie's words, not mine. But we have deep-rooted research and theory, and you're going to see some of that today. So get your thinking hats on. If you're a Ross graduate, you're back in class. But I also want to help you get some ideas that will allow you to be more effective as a leader and to help your company be more effective. So I'm going to start and spend quite a bit of time on the first line. What does guidance mean, and why does it matter in today's world? Then we're going to take questions if you have them. We'll take 2 to 4 questions that you might type in that Melanie will highlight. Then I'm going to take you through some of our findings quite quickly around talent, leadership, organization, and HR. So get ready. We're going to get into the logic, very simple. And here's the question I'd ask you. Are your company's investments in people and organization giving you measurable results? Companies invest a lot, about 1% of their revenue, in how to improve the quality of their people and organization. Are you getting impact from those initiatives? That's a great question. It's almost like you have a portfolio and you're saying, am I getting a good return on this investment? That's the question we're going to try to answer today. And here's the logic behind it. This is complicated, but bear with me, it's actually simple. How do we determine if we're having impact? In any business, to succeed, we've got to have financial capital. And there are folks at the University of Michigan who teach how to manage our financial capital. We've got to have strategic, a focus, a direction, where we're going. We've got to have digital and technology. All of those things are critical to get a success. But we've also got to have a great organization. And so our passion today is to talk to you about, how do I create an organization that delivers results? How do I make sure that where I work is the right organization? We've discovered that inside that bucket of organization are 4 pathways to results. One is talent, my fingers. I've got to have great people. That's the individual ingredients, the workforce, the people. At the other hand is my organization, the capability. We discovered, by the way, that individual talent matters. Organizational capability matters even more. And then leadership is the combination of the two. So if I'm sitting in a company, does my company have great talent? And are we investing in and getting better people? Do we have a great organization? Are we investing in and getting good organization? Do we have the right leadership? And then the infrastructure to sustain it is human resources or the HR processes. So, are you in a company investing in talent, organization, and leadership in ways that will help you be more effective as a company? I want to give you those tools. If you're a senior leader, you can do them. If you're not, you can do them. You can help your company learn to get guidance to make good investments that will help you in your career. So to realize your company's mission, vision, or values, you got to have talent, organization, leadership, and HR. And as I said, at the University of Michigan, we do research. We've written books, done research. I won't bore you with that. I'm going to try to distill that research into something you can use. In the field of information, and as we come out of this bizarre 2020, we don't want to just have a scorecard. I did a book called The HR Scorecard. It's now out of date. That tracks the past performance. It tells me the score. I'm looking in a box score after the game. Nor do I want a dashboard that tells me how fast I'm driving. Nor do I want to have interventions. What I want is guidance. I want to be able to look forward and say, where do I want to go? I love the metaphor of guidance. When I was a younger student, I went to a guidance counselor. And the guidance counselor said, Dave, here's your strengths, your passions, your interests, your orientation. Here then might be a career that would work for you. And here's the pathway for schooling that will get you there. Now that I'm older and some of you may be facing potential retirement, you want a guidance counselor who says, where do you want to be in retirement? How do you want to live? What do you need to do to get there? Or if your company is doing an investment portfolio, or if you have money, how do I guide where I should invest in stocks, in bonds, in commodities? Or our computers become guidance systems. They guide missiles, they guide decisions. Or our phone becomes a guidance pathway for how we behave. In the logic of guidance, we shift. We don't just describe what's going on. That's a scorecard, a dashboard, or an insight. What's happening? We want to prescribe what should be happening. And in the field of organization, with talent, organization, and leadership, we've done a lot of description. Here's a description of our culture. Here's a description of your leadership skills. Here's a description of who you are and what you do. It's a leadership 360. I want to move beyond that. I want to say, which of the items in your leadership 360 will drive outcomes that you care about? One simple example, I go to a doctor recently, I got a physical, and the doctor took blood, weighed me, did my physical, and finally looked at me all seriousness after about a 20 to 30-minute visit. And he said, Dave, you should lose weight. And I felt like looking at the doctor and saying, oh my gosh, how brilliant you are. By the way, I know that. I don't need you to describe it. Give me a prescription. Give me give me a pill that will help me do that easily. Give me a pathway that helps me do it. We need in our world today, coming out of this virus, not just better descriptions, we need prescriptions to where we go. A guidance system gives me prescriptions by starting with results. So when we look at our business, whatever business I'm in, it could be a business unit, it could be a small company, it could be a public sector, any country in the world, given our strategy, what results do I want to improve? Guidance has a direction. Where am I headed? What do I want out of my employees? And as Melanie introduced, you're going to get a great session on emotional and social well-being. What do I want out of my strategy? Especially the digital transformation. How do I get differentiated results? What do I want from my customers? How do I want to make sure that what I do helps my customers? What do I want with my financial results, both profitability and intangibles? And what do I want with my citizenship, my corporate reputation that's so critical today? Guidance starts with where we're headed. Where am I going to point my arrow? Where am I going to point for guidance? Given my strategy, what are the outcomes I'm trying to create? Then guidance says there are 4 pathways to help us get there. If I say, these are the outcomes I want, I got 5 outcomes. What do I have to do to invest in my people to make that outcome happen? Melanie introduced it, and I'm going to reinforce it. At Michigan, we are not just about activities. Go hire somebody, go train somebody, go help somebody's career so that we deliver an outcome. And what can I do in the talent space to get those outcomes? What can I do in the leadership space? How can I help make leadership happen to deliver outcomes? What can I do with organization? Do I have the right organization to make it happen? What can I do in HR to build my HR function and department so that outcomes happen? This guidance system, by the way, there's a typo, organizational guidance, then looks and looks. I typed the notes, so I probably did that last night, and I apologize. One of the things we're after in Michigan is excellence in everything, and I've just gotten 1 demerit, so my talk needs to be very good. We want to create guidance that leads us to those outcomes. So here's the chart that's cool, and you can't read it, and you'll get it, and that's okay if you can't read it. Most organizations spend about 1% of their revenue. That's a lot. If you're a $100 million business, that's $1 million. If you're a $1 billion business, that's $10 million in those rows. Notice the rows. You've got talent and some things we can do in talent. You've got leadership, you've got organization, capabilities, and you've got HR. You spend 1% of your revenue in those areas. Are you getting your outcomes in employee, strategy, customer, financial, and community? Are you finding out where should I invest that 1% so that I get employee well-being to be higher, so that I get strategy and direction and where we're going to be more clear and executed, customers to have a better experience and more revenue from customers, financial and community? There's 180 cells. Do you know where you should invest? That's the question. We think it's an exciting question. This is a company we've done a pilot with. We didn't have the social outcomes, so we left that column blank. This company went to rbl.ai and they got a survey, and it's free. It's free. And this was their report. The colored cells say this is where you should invest to get those employee, strategy, customer, and financial outcomes. Notice at this company, there aren't as many in the organization green area. For whatever reason, this company has an organization that's in pretty good shape. This company looks like they need to do more in the talent space. And in the talent space, I know it's hard to read. They don't need to acquire talent. They need to create better employee experiences. That gets 4 cells across the bottom. This company now can say, if we're going to invest our revenue and money and time for those outcomes, we better do talent and we better look at the employee experience and the employee engagement. Those get 3 or 4 cells. Cool. By the way, it also says if we're going to invest in leadership, we better be able to build a business case. That's the cell that seems to make the most difference in this company for their outcomes. That's what guidance means and why it matters. Do you know where you could spend in your company resources so that you get the outcomes that you care about? And the logic is, if we know that, then I, as a business leader, can make decisions that will help me be more effective. I know I'm 12 minutes into my talk. I think I'm going to stop, Melanie, and see if there are any comments or questions about that idea. It's a different way of thinking. We're not about the activity and the initiative. We're about the outcome.
Absolutely. Yeah, Dave. So there's one question here, and the question is about guidance versus mentoring versus coaching, how they are different from one another. And I think wrapped up in that question is like this idea of guidance makes a lot of sense. Guidance is describe and prescribe, and you have to start by identifying the results you're looking for in each of those areas: employee, strategy, customer, financial, CSR, and then you can use 4 pathways to get there. But what would you say then about how this guidance gets created? Is this the CEO and team doing this activity and saying, here it is? Is it co-created? How does it actually work? How do we operationalize it?
Very simple. And let me answer that and then come back to coaching and mentoring, because I think it's an interesting question. The guidance system is very simple. I think business leaders, the CEO, the business leaders of a division or branch, along generally with an HR team, the analytics team, and it may be an information team, they come together. And the business leader says, let me give an example. We had a call with a CEO and a business leader and the HR team, and we were describing what this guidance system was. Look at where you can invest in these rows, in talent, leadership, organization. And the HR team said, yeah, that's what we invest in. And so we asked the HR team, can you tell me the outcomes you get from those investments? And they said, well, people feel better. So what's the business outcome? Will it add value to customers and financial? And which of all the investments you're making this year, the millions you're spending, should be your priorities? And they said, well, we're investing in best practice. And I said, best practice is chasing somebody else's goal. You got to go after the business. And the CEO looked at and he said, I love it. The job of a business leader is to allocate resources. I want to allocate resources to the initiatives that will have the most impact. Now, by the way, there's another complete decision. Should I go to leadership training? Should I go to Ross or somewhere else? You don't need a guidance system. Come to Ross. You don't need any data. We just know we're the best. By the way, that's a joke, but it's true. We really try to be the best, and we're modeling it in this case. So the action is to simply go to rbl.ai, get a team of business leaders and others to fill out 4 surveys. You'll get this report, and it will show you where to focus. It's free. That's it. That's it. And if you want to then say, how do I go further? We can do that with you by coming to Ross and other experiences. That's where we start, is simply figure out, where are you today? Now, coaching versus mentoring. Coaching versus mentoring is much more personal. The guidance system is organizational guidance, not individual. But let me just comment on coaching versus mentoring. They overlap a lot, but they're somewhat different. Coaching is often about a specific experience. I'm coaching right now an individual who's trying to change his leadership style. He has a style that is a little bit command and control, a little bit directive. He wants to be more collaborative. Coaching is about an event and a specific activity. Mentoring is about a lifetime relationship. I bet, Melanie, and I've never asked, who are some of your mentors? I have some mentors I went to the university with decades ago. I still connect with my mentors 40 years later, and they give me counsel. Now, they sometimes coach me about specific things, but they're my mentors. They're my friends. I consider Wayne, anyway, I won't go further than that. Sometimes coaching and mentoring overlap. The coaching is often about an event. The mentoring is often about a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that answers that one.
Yeah, I've heard also described as one other maybe nuance of the difference is that coaching is about eliciting the best from the person, like the person, him or herself, is the resource, whereas mentoring maybe drifts a little bit more into some advising and, more advisement. I don't know if you see that as a difference also or not.
It could be. I think coaches give advice as well. I'll give an example of coaching. The person I'm coaching is a genius in an industry and has shaped the industry and is incredibly good. And I won't mention his name or company. 3 weeks ago, there was an incident where in a meeting, an employee had some bad decisions that was potentially risking millions of dollars. Instead of blowing up, the person I'm coaching, and the company uses email a lot to give feedback, had drafted an email and said, you made a mistake. It would cost us millions of dollars. Here's what you did wrong. Here's what you should do to fix it. And I made a deal with the person I'm coaching that said, let me see your email before you send it. And I got it. And I said, may I make an addition? And the person said, yes. And so here's what I said. Before you say you made a mistake that was very serious, it's horrible, you're going to cost us money, put the following statement. I care about you. You have great potential at this company. In order for you to realize your potential, I'm going to try to guide you to make better decisions. So you made a mistake. You need to fix it. And here's how I can help you. Notice it's the same message, but it's cloaked in this positive emotional work that you'll hear about in the next session. And the person I was coaching last Friday said, that person called me back and said, I didn't really know you cared. That's coaching.
Yeah.
Help the other person. And okay. So I've talked about guidance. One more question or comment, Melanie, if anything's come through, and then I'm going to blitz you. So put on your thinking hats and get ready. Any other comments?
Yes. Okay. So first of all, thank you, Monir, for that question. I hope we answered it thoroughly. There is another question here, and Dave, it may be that you're going to get to this later. So if so, you can just say so. But the question is from an anonymous attendee. What is the essence of figuring out what activities drive business outcomes? It sounds multimodal and difficult to derive. So could you say a few words about that?
Yes, it's multimodal. Yes, it's difficult to derive. And yes, we've made it simple. And get ready. You're going to see it. Let me be fair. You're going to have to trust a little bit. I hope you'll scratch. I am a statistician by training. I get to show this. This is my dissertation of decades ago. It's called numerical taxonomy. I am a statistician. I'm trained as a statistician. Just to show you the value of that, I don't know if I've shared this in other meetings at Michigan. You got a paycheck from University Microfilm. or Systems in Ann Arbor for $11.85. So my dissertation of a year of work on statistics made me $11.85. I think that's funny, actually. Woohoo! By the way, the world's not always improved that much, but we love data. It is multimodal, but the challenge is to make it simple and accessible and a user experience that works. I'm going to try to demonstrate that. We've spent 18 months at this. This is why you come to Michigan, because we take research and theory and experience I showed on that one slide and try to consolidate it into something that will give you an idea that will have a sustainable impact. Let me try to demonstrate that question to the anonymous person. I love it. If you want to send me an email to go deeper, I'll go as deep as you want to go. We have a company who's using this service, and yesterday they wanted to go deep, and we got into regressions need to be updated through variance decomposition to avoid multicollinearity. And the person quickly said, not that deep, but we'll go as deep as you want to go. I'm going to take you quickly for about 8 minutes each or less through 4 pathways of what we found. You're not going to follow all this, but I hope you get the essence. I want guidance. I want to know where to invest. We'll start with talent. Do we have the right individuals to deliver results? Here's the theory. Everybody, I got cited on LinkedIn recently. Dave Ulrich said, our people are our most important asset. Well, that's a stupid quote. Everyone in the Western world has said that. And that's not what I believe. I believe that our people are our customers' most important asset. We should be doing things with our talent that drive customers. We believe there's 3 areas you can work with talent: competence, they have the ability to do the work; commitment, they're willing to do the work; and contribution or experience, they find meaning. We discovered there's 9 activities that we can do, 9 initiatives. And again, there's a lot of research behind this. In the Talent Accelerator book, I think we had 13. In another study, we had 18. We believe there's 9 areas we can invest to get better talent. A, bringing people in, we acquire talent. B, moving people through, we manage performance, we train people, develop them. Number 4, we help careers communicate. C, we flow people through by retaining the best. And number 7, departing employees. Number 8, we improve and track employee engagement. And number 9, we create a great experience. Now here's the key slide. And I'm going to show you 4 of these, and you're not going to get them all, but stick with me. There are 9 activities we can do to invest in talent. I just went through them. There's a lot of research behind them. What's the average? That's a benchmark. That's column A. We have 119 groups who filled it out. But now go to B, C, D, and E. And we've added now F, which is social. Where should I invest in talent to get my employee outcomes higher? To get that emotional well-being that you're going to talk about in the next session offered. C, to get my strategy and business executed. D, to get better net promoter scores with customers. E, to deliver financial results. You know, this is really interesting. Red, yellow, green is the relative impact of each of those initiatives on that column. Just look at the picture overall. Number 8, improve and track employee engagements, gets 3 green bars. I'm a business team. Where should I invest? Overall, it looks like I should invest on number 8, improving and tracking employee engagement. That's what will give me column B, C, and D outcomes. Kind of interesting. Developing employees. By the way, then I can look at each of the columns. What's going to drive my employee outcomes the most? Productivity, well-being, that you're going to hear about. Number 8 and number 2. What's going to drive my strategy? Acquiring talent. What's going to drive my customer results? Communication, retaining. And what's going to drive my financial results? Developing employees. Suddenly, I now have a very robust discussion. It's not just, do I do the initiative, the 9 rows, but where should I focus? On our overall results? This is improving employee engagement, number 8. So what could I do? Column A, now I can pick, if it's number 8 for my company, here's some things I could do to begin to make it happen. I've just taken you through talent, and I did it quickly. I know you could have questions and we can dive deep. Let me take you through leadership. Here's the question. What should we do to ensure the quality of leadership that makes a difference to stakeholders? It's not just what I know and do as a leader, it's how what I know and do will create value for the employee, the customer, the investor, etc. We have a theory of leadership. We have a point of view. It's embedded in books we've written through my work and my colleagues at Michigan and elsewhere. We know through our books on leadership what good leadership looks like. Effective leadership is a set of attributes times a set of results that are sustained. We boil that theory down into 6 dimensions of effective leadership. Effective leadership in a company starts with a business case. Why should leadership matter here? Can we build a business case for leadership? Number 2, do we know what leaders should be and do? Do we have an agreement on standards or competencies? Number 3, do we know how to assess our leaders? 360, feedback. Number 4, do we know how to invest in our leaders for the future? Number 5, do we know how to measure leadership success? And number 6, do we build our reputation of leadership in the marketplace? Those are the boiled down 6 items from that research on leadership. And here's the chart again. Take a breath. I've added a column B, but look at the 6 rows. These are the 6 things we can invest in to create better leadership in our company. Column A says, here's the global mean. Here's how companies do with that. Column B is a company, and as Melanie said, this company had 25 people fill out the leadership pathway. It's about a 12 to 15-minute survey. And now company in column B can compare with column A. That's where 99% of the research is today. But if you look at column A versus column B, you see that company B is pretty close on most of the items. So you look at A versus B and say, oh, we're pretty close to the global average, except in row 5, we don't measure leadership as well as other people do. Useful. But look what we've now done with guidance. C, D, E, and F. Which of those 6 rows will have the most impact on employee, strategy, customer, financial, and we're going to add social citizenship outcomes? Take a deep breath back. Look at the green bars. Wow. The key is clarify the business case for leadership. This is so insightful. It's not about the leadership training program you offer. That's a baseline that's key. Did I show that when you attend this training program, you will be able to build better business results? That's what our data shows. That's what we're doing at Michigan. We give great training programs. We believe our training programs at Michigan and in other forums where I've worked are as good or better than any in the world. But we're not just here to help you learn a skill. We're here to help you learn a skill so that column C, your employee, column D, your strategy, E, customer, and F, financial, business results will go up. A company came to us and said, we've been spending a lot of money on leadership. We would like to invest in upgrading our leadership training program. We showed them this data. They collected their own data so that they could track their own company. And here's what we said. Don't spend all of your money on upgrading your training program. Spend a high portion of your money in row 1. What's the business case for leadership? How will the leaders who attend your training program deliver outcomes that matter to the employee, strategy, customer, and investor? They're doing that. They have now got a guidance of where to invest so that their leadership work improves. And there's activities in each of those that you could do, you could look at. You know, I've talked, Melanie, about talent and leadership. I'm going to do organization and HR. I think I'm going to stop for a couple of comments or questions about the logic, and then I'll finish the last 2. But I hope people are beginning to see this is not about measuring activity. It's about showing the impact of the activity on the outcome and guiding you as to where you can focus as a company. So let me come back to you and just see if there are any comments or questions.
Yeah, there are a few. Here's one from Praveen. Should guidance be centralized or decentralized? Maybe you could comment quickly on
Yes, that was as quick as I can comment. By the way,
that.
Praveen, your comment is so good. Every organization should have centralized policies, principles, and practices. The guidance logic should pervade across everything and decentralized relationships with customers. And so our finding in our work is the corporate group who does analytics and information, the IT group, the HR group, the business leaders, provide a guidance logic that can then be adapted to each business. We talked yesterday to a company who's internalizing this guidance system. I think they're a healthcare company. They have, I think, 50 hospitals. They're going to use the guidance system in each of those 50 hospitals. And they're going to have an overall enterprise-wide guidance system to help provide logic. So the answer is, in fact, yes. Use it with a subgroup and use it with the enterprise to connect across.
Okay, good. I'm going to give you one more kind of quick answer question and then a little bit deeper one. So Lisa is mentioning that she noticed on the talent guidance chart that it said caution pilot up in the left-hand corner, and wondering about the amount of data research that you have. When will you have enough that it'll be considered final and you would recommend that companies use it actively, is her question.
You know, it is such a good question. And the answer is really tricky. We did this pilot in September. We have about 100 to 150 people in each of the pathways. I just got the data last night. We're now at about 300 people in each of the pathways. In fact, one of the pathways has 400, the others have 300. This is now a statistics question that my colleagues in academia would scream at me because they say, you got to have more. 100 is enough to do reasonable results. I want to get 500 to 1,000. I think we have enough data now to give lead indicators. It's kind of like saying, oh, how is that steak cooked? It's not exactly medium or medium rare, but it's in the direction. I'm comfortable with the pilot that we have results. Let me just say, this is what separates, again, Michigan from others. Somebody showed me a survey. They said, I've surveyed employees and I know their morale in virtual work. And I said, what was your sample? And the person said, 20 of my friends. Go away. Go away. First of all, I love your friends. You should hug them and you should chat with them and sing Kumbaya, but a sample isn't good. I think we're now at a place, Lisa, to give your company viable results. They're still directional. It will never be perfect. In terms of allocating resources to the initiatives that matter, we can take you from a 30% confidence today to a 50 or 60. That's a big improvement. So when I invest that 1% of gross revenue, I'll increase my confidence 20 points. We hope in a year or two, when this guidance system has 1,000 people in it, we'll go to 70. We'll never get to 90 or 100. That's just naive. You thought that was a quick answer and it wasn't. Now comes the hard answer.
Okay, so several people are asking questions, and I think this relates to something you acknowledged at the beginning. This is a lot. This is a lot of information. It's a lot of stuff. Your work here is a great attempt and successful attempt at making it, at simplifying it. It's not easy, but it makes it simpler, and it makes it possible to apply these ideas and come out with outcomes. But it's a lot, and we all have a lot of other stuff too. We have strategy, we have performance reviews, performance management, and we have, KRAs, key results, and so on. So could you say a few words about how this fits in the larger context of all of this stuff we already have going on? Does this replace strategy? So just comment on that, and you'll be answering questions from several people in the
let me comment, then I'm going to do the last two. That's why we did a guidance system. I feel overwhelmed. I get 50 emails a day or more. How do I know where to respond? By the way, the first answer is, if it's from Melanie, respond as quick as I can. I think we all have internal prioritization, optimization metrics. This logic can tell me, where should I prioritize? So think with me of a diamond. You start with a simple question. Where should I invest? The diamond, it's really complicated. That's what we've given you in this guidance system. 180 cells, 5 columns, 36. Then go down to the bottom. Here then are the 3 or 4 places you should focus on. To get to the bottom is not just intuition. The surveys online on the rbl.ai they're about 40 items, and they take about 12 minutes to 14 minutes to fill out. My sense is take 12 to 14 minutes, get people to fill out a survey, and I know there's survey fatigue. You'll get a report back, like the one I showed from the company, that shows that 180 cells, and it says, here's the 3 or 4 places to focus. Go for it. Sometimes you have to invest a little to get a lot back, but I am so empathetic. We all live in a world today of constant noise. We're overwhelmed with noise. We want to have the signal that tells us where to focus. That's what guidance does. And so guidance is the answer to guidance. Guidance is the answer to know where to focus. It's going to cost you a little bit of time filling out a survey. You should know that my colleagues in academia are going to criticize me for making the survey too short. That's why it's taken us 18 months because we did 2 or 3 pilots to really do the statistics. These are the essential items for those who study. These are the factors, the eigenvalues, the reliabilities, the alphas. These are the core items. We're not going to haze you with a 180 item survey. We're going to be very focused, but you have to invest a little to get a lot.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. I'll let you move on now to the other 2 key areas.
Let me do the others. And again, I think you've got the logic in your mind. It's overwhelming. Organization. Do we have the right organization? Remember my fist. Our research shows that talent matters. That's the ingredients. Organization matters more. And in fact, we found in our research, and I can show it in this research, it confirms it. The quality of your organization has 4 times the impact than talent on business outcomes. That's in a book, Victory Through Organization. We fight a war with people. We win the war with organization. We've studied organization a lot. It's one of my pride and joys. I love organizations. My wife, who's a psychologist, says I have OCD, which is not obsessive compulsive disorder. It's organization compulsive disorder. I love to study organizations. We started with capability and workout and boundaryless. The latest book is Reinventing the Organization. We've evolved through what an organization is about. An organization is not hierarchy. It's not systems or capability. It's just capability. It's an ecosystem. And I won't bore you with the theory. We want to know, what are the capabilities your company could have? Not your shape or your morphology or the number of layers of management or even your processes, but what are you known for and good at doing? In this way, the organizational capability is like personality. People used to study individuals, their height, their weight, their hair color, their eyes, their forehead. In fact, somebody sent me a latest and greatest app. They'll take a picture of your face, look at your eyes, your forehead, your nose, your mouth, your ears, and they'll tell you what your leadership style is. And they asked me if I'd support the app. This is why you come to Michigan again. I said, why? Do you want me to be the pre-picture? Because I don't have forehead and eyes. The physical characteristics of somebody don't really predict outcomes, but the personality does. And so you have the big 5 in personality. It's the same in organizations. A lot of people like to look at how many levels of management, what's the number of reporting relationships, what's the span of control. They don't predict outcomes. Capability is what the organization's personality is. We've identified 12. That comes from decades of research. Here's 12 capabilities that your organization could be good at. And again, you can dive into that research. And now here's the key chart again. And I caution that it's a pilot. We had 137 results. I think we're now on this pathway at about 400. So take a step back. The rows represent the capabilities and how will we do them. That's column A. Column B is the employee outcome. C is strategy outcome. D is customer. E is financial. Take a deep step back. Wow, it's really interesting. What seems to drive B, C, D, and E, the green bars? Number 3. It's really interesting, strategic clarity. If I invest in strategic clarity, and we've got definitions and how you can do that, getting a shared mindset, a shared agenda, a shared focus, that's going to drive outcomes more than information and analytics, number 11, which I don't understand. I'm being honest about that. More than efficiency. That's number 9. That's going to drive outcomes across. But it's interesting, each column may have some different items. For example, to drive employee well-being, I've got to invest in the talent capability. Duh, that makes sense. To drive customer, column D, I've got to invest in strategic clarity and customers. To drive financial results, column E, I've got to invest in efficiency. I can now begin to look where I invest to make the outcomes happen. For those who are statistical geeks, bear with me for just a minute. Look at the bottom row. That's the R squared. That's the amount of variance we're explaining in those outcomes. Look at the organizational capabilities. They're explaining 40, 35, 36. Just get that in your mind. I'm going to go back real quick. When we look at the talent outcomes, I shouldn't be doing this. I haven't done this before. The talent outcomes are explaining 19, 24, the bottom row, 15, 10. The organizational outcomes explain in this research 2 to 3 times as much as the talent initiatives. That's cool. So I've just given you organization. I've done it quickly. I don't understand this data. I need to look at it deeper. But if I'm in a company as a business leader or as a contributor to help business results, I want to say, I want to deliver financial results. I should focus on agility, strategic clarity, customer centricity. That's column E. Efficiency. I want to deliver customer results. I should focus on strategic clarity, customer centricity, innovation, and accountability. I now know where to focus to begin to deliver results. And then once I know those capabilities, those are the 12 rows, I can pick the ones to focus on, and here's the actions I can take to improve. My final one. How do I upgrade the HR department? Some of you on the call today may be part of an HR group. If so, we hope you'll join us at Michigan. We've worked hard to build HR. Some of you are not in HR, but you should be raising the bar on what you expect from your HR professionals. We should make the HR function effective so that it delivers value. We've written a lot on building HR success from the 90s through today, the victory through organization. Our logic in HR is fairly simple, that HR is not just about the activity, but the value of the activity. For example, we have a program called the Advanced Human Resource Executive Program. I'll mention it in just a moment. When we start the program, we say, what do you want to learn in this 2 weeks? I want to learn about changing the culture, doing leadership training, building executive compensation, hiring or managing in a digital space. We then say, let us challenge you. That's the functional expertise, leadership, culture, executive compensation. Put behind your idea, your goal, so that. I want to learn how to change your culture so that we succeed and have strategic success. I want to do executive compensation so that we execute our strategy. I want to do leadership development so that we execute strategy. Then ask so that again. I want to do HR, leadership, culture, executive comp, so that we succeed in the market. Our view at Michigan is that HR is not about HR. It's about moving up those waves so that we succeed in the market. And what does an HR department do to make that happen? Those are 4 stages of maturity: foundational, functional, strategic, and outside in. There's 9 areas that I could improve my HR department. Now, if I'm in marketing or IT or supply chain, I could probably change HR to your department. But we're focusing this through the HR department with organization. Do I have the right reputation? Do I have the right customer focus? Do I have the right purpose, the design? Our job is to say there's 9 dimensions of an effective HR department. How do I use those dimensions in an appropriate way? Take a breath. I'm going to give you the results a little more detailed here that are fascinating, and then we'll have 10 minutes for questions or 5 minutes for questions. This work is not what I wanted, and it's one of the reasons that I love research. I have an answer going in, and then the research tells me. Notice these 4 columns. Am I doing work, essential work, functional work, strategic work, or outside in work? Here's what we found. To deliver results for the employees, B, strategy, C, customer and financial, I got to do the basics well. I wanted us to be all doing the outside in, strategic, long term. What we found is that you got to do the basics. You got to do the basics. And so, one of the takeaways for us as we teach HR professionals, don't just do the strategic work and the outside in work, do the basics. But what was fascinating when we looked at the outcome of financial performance by the respondent, the HR professional versus business leaders, HR professionals felt that doing the basics well, foundation, was critical to give financial performance. The business leaders said it was not critical, that our business leaders want us in HR to be doing the outside in value creation work. That's the beauty of data. That's the beauty of data. If we looked at this chart, we would just be teaching you the basics of compensation, the basics of leadership, the basics of staffing, of training. But when we look at this, our business leaders, I think, assume that we can do the basics. And the differentiator is outside in. My final chart to bore you. Where do we focus as an HR department to succeed? Remember, employee strategy, customer financial outcomes. Let me tell you the takeaway here that just grabs my attention. It's not row 4. A lot of people that say, I want to transform HR, Dave. How do we structure? Let's put our specialists and generalists into one big pool and we'll have agility as a department. We'll be successful. Look at what we've just shown. Reworking row 4 doesn't really deliver any of the outcomes I care about. It's not about your structure. In fact, depending on the outcome, if I care about financial outcomes, the one that a lot of us care about, I got to go focus on row 9 and row 8. Do my HR people have the skills? Come to Michigan. Collaboration. Do my HR people work well with each other and with us as business leaders? This is an amazing result because it focuses where we can pay attention. Take a breath. I've covered a lot. Let me end with 2 final slides. I started with a question. Are your investments in people and organizational initiatives giving you measurable results? That's our passion. That's our commitment. The answer is yes, if you understand the changing context. We start with the outside in. You know your vision and mission. We know where we're headed. We know our direction. Once we have that, number 3, we define the results we desire for our employees, strategy, customer, investor, and community. Yes, number 4, if we know which initiatives in talent, leadership, capability, and HR will help me achieve the results. And number 5, if I can prioritize those initiatives and track them over time to find out if they deliver the results. That's what this guidance system helps you do. Now, let me end with the comment I love to end every session with. I love to ask people, what's the best year of your life? And somebody says, when I was 17, 18, and 19 and was a world-class sprinter and won awards for racing. That was for Melanie. She was a world-class sprinter and she won awards. When I was at the university, meeting new people and expanding my life. When I was newly married, when I had my child. Somebody told me recently, the best year of my life was the year after I was married. Think about that. I think they're all wrong. Here's what we are committed to. By the way, this is the summary. I think the best year of your life is the next 12 months. That's our commitment at Michigan. We want your next 12 months, no matter what's happening in the world. And I know the last 12 months in our world are like Men in Black with the neuralizer. You want to hit the button and forget it. The next 12 months will be the best. And the guidance system we've done will help you. It will move you beyond dashboards and scorecards to optimize people. It will recognize which 9 talent initiatives matter most. It will help you build leadership through those 6 agendas. It will help you know which of those 12 capabilities will build value. And it will help you, if you're in HR, create value. If you're not in HR, it will help you set an agenda for your HR people. And if you want more information, welcome to REP. This is a program we offer. My colleagues, Dick Beatty, Wayne Brockbank, Charlie Tharp are some of the teachers. We have in-person programs scheduled, and Lord willing, we'll do them in July and October next year. Come with us. Explore with us what that future holds. For more information, stay connected, and most of all, go blue. Melanie, I'm going to
Thank
get out
you.
of my slides. I know I just covered a lot, but I hope the simple message is this is now the time to provide guidance and go beyond description.
It is a lot, and I would encourage people to watch the video again when you want to get back into it and reorient yourself around it. And also, as Dave mentioned, the REP stands for Advanced Human Resource Executive Program, and you can get deeper and actually practice this approach. Do you want to take a few more questions, Dave?
I'll
for
go as
people
long
who
as
can
you want,
stay on?
Melanie. This is,
Okay.
I'm seeing we haven't had that much drop off of people on the call. So,
Yeah. So we'll take a few more minutes and answer some questions. So this is from George, and it relates very much to organizational capabilities, and it's kind of a conundrum you hear people discuss. I think he wants to know your opinion. His question is, isn't the key always uncovering and utilizing the talents or strengths of the organization in crafting your guidance system? So are you creating going with the talents you have, or saying these are the talents we need and now we need to develop them?
the answer is both. But George, let me separate people from organization. This is an all-star team, the people. I've got really good people, but they don't work well as a team. That's called the Michigan football team last weekend. You've got great talent. We've recruited well, but they didn't play particularly well as a team. What we know is that an all-star team can't beat a high-performing team. And so there is a difference between talent and organization. What we found again, George, is that the quality of organization outlasts and outperforms the individual talent, or talent are the ingredients they come together to create a great meal. So yes, we need great people. We need great people, but we need even greater organizations and capabilities. And the capability is simply the identity of the organization. How do you build at Amazon great people who come together to deliver that customer experience at Amazon over and over again? That's the capability focus. It's like personality versus personal characteristic.
Okay, excellent. Now, people are asking some questions specific about India, but maybe it's even a more general question. Are there differences among countries in this work?
I don't know. Let me tell
Okay.
you, this is where my academic hat is so frustrated. We started the pilot and we didn't report results. And in fact, we don't have statistics on this because we're worried about caution pilot when we had 100 data points so we could do the analysis. Statistically, it was okay. We're now at 300 to 400 in each pathway. When we get 1,000 and 2,000, we'll go to India, we'll go to Brazil, we'll go to Singapore, and we'll begin to focus on that. We'll also look at industry. We also are going inside companies and saying, instead of this generic result, employee, strategy, customer, investor, that RBL.ai you can take, I want to track my company. The hospital yesterday, we want to guide our company's investment in these initiatives. So they've gone inside and they now have employee, strategy, customer, they call it patient, obviously, financial and community results for their company that they are going to track over the next 3 years. Every 6 months, doing a guidance pathway of how their investments are doing, sort of like an investment portfolio. My investor every 3 to 6 months sends me an update. How am I doing? And then gives me guidance. You're a little too heavy in stocks. You're a little too heavy in bonds. You need to do this. That's what we want to do inside your company. And at RBL.ai, you can get, again, I'm not pushing that as much as go get a free report. I think that's kind of cool.
All right. So, I mean, I really appreciate your just being really frank about where you are in this work and how the rest of us can collaborate with you to take it even further. Here's a question from Alvaro. Within the global world of companies, who are the leaders in applying this guidance philosophy? Are there any companies doing it well?
No, we don't have leaders yet. Come to me. If you look at an S curve, we're now 20% up the S curve. We've got a pilot. We've got an idea. We're getting early adopters. I'm going to say something I probably shouldn't say. If you want to go to companies that are 95 up the S curve, go get there, but you're going to be a follower. You're not going to be ahead. Michigan is not a follower. And by the way, I'm proud of that. We're not doing stuff that is perfectly crafted and coiffed. We're doing stuff that's innovative and it's messy. But if you want to win in the marketplace that's changing rapidly, Don't go to the S curve where, in fact, my takeaway, if you see slides that are flawless, no mistakes, everything's laid out, we have a recipe that will create perfect chocolate chip cookies. That's great for food. It's not great for organizations today. By the way, that's a philosophy not everybody on the faculty will probably share, and Melanie may not even share it. But I'm proud to be 20 to 30% up an S curve and to co-create with you what's next.
Yeah, no, I'm right on board with that. As you were talking, I was thinking a very tiny example of that was your slide where you had a typo in the title. I didn't mind at all because I know that's because you were working on your slides yet this morning, perfecting them. Not perfecting them, I guess isn't the right term, but working on what you wanted to share with people today and what would be most meaningful for them. So we appreciate the imperfection of the work. Let's finish with a question about learning, because that's kind of why we're all here today and something that we're all about. And you can say what you want about learning, Dave, anything you think is important. The specific question is from, again, an anonymous attendee, but it's around whose primary responsibility is it for learning? Is it the individual supported by line managers, HR, the learning center? What would you say about learning and the responsibility?
Let me make two comments. The first is who's accountable for it, and then what good learning looks like. When I taught MBA students, and it's been years since I've done that, I've been privileged to work with Melanie and the other great faculty in executive ed. When I taught MBA students, this was my final exam question, multiple choice. Who has primary accountability and responsibility for the HR, leadership, talent, organization issues in a company? Who has primary accountability? A, business leader. B, head of HR. C, it's shared. D, the consultant, which I like. E, I don't care, I'm going into finance. That was one of my favorite questions. And almost everybody answered C, it's shared. And it's wrong. I think the primary accountability and responsibility rests with the business leader. She or he is the steward of all resources within a company: data, money, and talent and organization. Line managers are the owners. The HR people are the architects. We in HR craft the design, the structure, the facilitation. But the employees themselves are the residents. So I think the accountability is split. Line managers, you're ultimately accountable. HR, you've got to architect, you've got to design the systems and processes. But an employee is an agent unto themselves. You've got to step up and play. So what does good learning look like? Let me share our philosophy in the Advanced HR Executive Program. I should have spelled it out, Melanie, AREP. Some people come to a course and they get a lecture. That's not good learning. You can go online, you can watch a TED Talk, you can watch this webinar, you can get that. Others come and they want to learn a best practice. I didn't go into detail. We're now saying best practice is out of date because you're trying to copy someone else's work, not create your own that wins in your marketplace, not theirs. Others come and they try to facilitate action learning. We want to go to the next step, which is learning solutions. Let me give an example of what we do in AREP. We're doing a day or a half day on talent. Here's how I now love to teach talent. And if you come, this is going to be your day. We have a lot of research on talent. I've just shown you. We've done books, we've done research, but I start and say, what's the biggest talent challenge your company's facing today? Hiring people, training people, engaging people, retention of people, finding people in China, finding people in Brazil. 25 people in the course, write it down. We list them. And then we spend the next 4 hours learning solutions against their problem. Here's our commitment in Michigan. I called it Ideas with Impact. We're not just going to give you our theory and research. When you walk out of our work in leadership, talent, organization, you will have a solution for the challenge you face. That is incredibly risky teaching. You're the case study. There's a lot of faculty who say, let me teach a case study. I've taught it 99 times. I know exactly what you're going to say. So I already have the solution. We don't want to do that. We want to co-create with you your solution to your problem. To me, that's the differentiator that's part of the Michigan advantage that Melanie started with. I think that's exciting. It scares me to death because you say, well, what are you going to cover in change? I have a theory of change. I have data on change. I'm going to cover what will help you solve your problem. Leadership is not about what the leader does. It's about how what the leader does helps the next generation do their job better. Our commitment as faculty is to help you. And that's what we're trying to do with guidance and other things. Okay, Melanie, you just heard my spiel.
Yeah, no, that's great. And you draw on the expertise of everyone in the room, and there are a lot of experts in the room. So it's
Well said.
almost like this incredible group coaching, mentoring session where everyone leaves with solutions, actionable solutions. So thank you. I think we probably better let people go, but Dave, thank you so much for taking the time today to share your work and this approach that's been developed that helps us all make sense out of complexity in our organizations and come up with actionable strategies that will lead to the best results possible, because it is all about results in the important areas. So thank you, Dave, and thank you everyone for joining us. We hope to see you again on December 9th. Bye-bye, and go blue.